Hello. In the last class, we talked about the rise of nationalism and the idea of manifest destiny. This idea we're going to keep with today with the War for Texas independence. In the 1820s, Mexico will break away from Spain, and many Americans moving west for that manifest destiny will start to move towards the new state of Mexico. In 1824, Mexico is going to become its own state, as you can see in this diagram. So there's a lot of movement here in the new California. What they needed was in the region that we call Texas. There's not a lot of settlers there. In order to claim that land and keep it for themselves, they needed settlers to move there. With that in mind, they offered Americans the opportunity to move there. If they were to move there, they had to accept certain rules. For instance, they were to turn to Roman Catholicism for their religion. Most Americans were some kind of Protestant denomination, so this would be a change. They needed to move to speaking Spanish as opposed to English. They needed to adopt the Mexican traditions, obey Mexican laws, and in the end, the hope was that they would become Mexicans rather than Americans. Generally, though, this did not happen. When they After a certain amount of time, the Mexicans became angry, and the Texans didn't felt like they were being oppressed. So there was a conflict between the Mexicans and the Texians. Also, there was some political turmoil in Mexico, in which General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna was became basically the dictator of Mexico. As you can see, here he is in this picture, and he wants to firmly establish his power. And so he's going to try to put his foot down on the Texians. First thing he's going to do is send the army, a small amount of soldiers, to remove a cannon from the town of Gonzales, Texas. This cannon had been given to the people of Gonzales, Texas, to protect themselves from bandits or Indians or whatever they needed for it. But now the Mexican officials were coming to take it. The women of the town made a flag similar to the one in this picture. And when the army got there, the town members from Gonzales put up a fight, so much so that the Mexican army had to retreat. And that was embarrassing. So the Mexican army regroups after Gonzales, reorganizes itself, recoups itself, and Santa Anna wants to go out and take back the Texian land. He's going to reorganize the army in the middle of the winter. A lot of people thought they had till spring. So a group of soldiers, Texians, were sent to San Antonio in a church known as the Alamo, and the Mexican army will run into them first. And they will put up a fight for 13 days until they are eventually overwhelmed by the Mexican army. In the end, those Americans that were captured were Texians. Some were Texians, some were Americans. The ones that were captured were executed. All their bodies were burned to not leave anything left for people to make as a martyr. The Mexicans wanted to make a point, didn't want to make heroes of these people. A few days later, the Mexicans are going to march off. This 13 days is going to be very costly to the Mexican army. It's going to take them, that's almost 2 weeks of this time where they were hoping to move quickly to crush this rebellion. In that time, the Texian army is gathering power to get put up a defense. A few days later, another lesser known massacre happens at a church called the Goliad. They surrendered without fighting, and they were all executed, similar to the defenders of the Alamo. Both the Alamo and Goliad are going to inspire the other Texans in their fight. They're going to use this as a rallying cry. Remember Goliad, remember the Alamo, and the Texas Army will consolidate itself. A month after the Alamo, the Texans are going to attack the Mexican army, which had been chasing the Texian army, is going to capture Santa Anna, who is this fellow right here. When the day seemed lost, he actually stripped off his general uniform and tried to get away dressed as a private soldier, but they caught him. And in exchange for his life, he exchanged Texas. So Texas for him. And this is going to inspire the creation of the Republic of Texas. And soon in American history, the Texas is going to become the state of Texas. And this idea of manifest destiny pushing across the map will be furthered.